do it with a huge upside, right? And also do it with somebody that knows not only what they're doing, but also how to relay that information in a way that you can actually understand it. For me, I don't have a very stellar I don't have a very stellar record with the stock market. My dad lost $1 million in the stock market when I was in college. That's the only reason I even started doing internet marketing. And I've been extremely against investing in the stock market because of that, right? I mean, obviously, when we fail really, really bad at something, the last thing we want to do is continue to try to do that, right? So for me, I said, stick with what I'm good at. I'm good at internet marketing. Why in the world would I want to mess with the stocks? I've already seen how badly that can go. But when our guest, and I'll introduce him in just a second, when he showed me this strategy, I thought to myself, this makes a lot of sense because you're not actually having to spend or leverage a lot of your money, right? So I was not investing a lot of money in order to make this. I was investing very, very little. Like I said, some stock options are literally like $9. So, I mean, one of them we bought was $4. So what I'm saying is I wasn't risking hardly any money. And as you can see, the upside and the potential was thousands of dollars and insane return on investment. So it made a lot of sense. And that's the reason why I wanted to bring it to you. Actually, I posted, if you guys look, I said, I asked if you would like for me to bring him on and show you how to do this. And you can see I had 293 comments. 293 people said they would love for me to bring him on and share kind of what he's teaching me with you. And so that's what I'm doing. Now, Jimmy says you're the internet marketing guy and all of a sudden you become an option trader. And so, of course, I quickly corrected him and said, I'm learning options. It's smart to have multiple streams of income, right? So important to take note that I don't understand this anywhere near enough to teach you. But what I do know is that my guest, and his name is John Carter, I'm going to let him speak in just a minute, is super, super, super intelligent when it comes to trading stock options. In fact, his videos and some of the things that he's taught have been shared around the world by millions of people, and the training and the education that he provides is something that tons of people use to get started with, with their own path, right down in trading options. Like they literally start off on the ground floor with learning from John Carter, which is crazy to me because it was just by absolute chance that I ran into John and met John again through someone in my network. I met him, and then we started to talk, and I realized I kind of connected the dots that I'd heard his name before, and I'd heard it from my friends that trade stocks. And they all said that they learned from John Carter, and there I was on the telephone with him. So I immediately started implementing it. As you guys can see, made $1,050 this day, $245 that day, and then another $320 here. And I think overall, since August 7th, which I think was the first trade that I did, I'm up about $4,000 or $5,000, which is a phenomenal amount of money to be up, especially when you're just getting started. So what I want to know is how many of you would love to learn how to do this? Just say yes if you would love to learn how to do this today. Very, very good. Well, listen, as you guys know, if you're brand new to the Partner Profit Strategy session, I give away a $100 cash prize at the very end. And of course, here are the things that you have to do in order to qualify to win. It's real simple. Number one, you have to be here at the end, because if you're not here, you can't win. Number two, you have to be active in the chat box. So when John comes on and starts asking questions and teaching things, all I want you to do is respond, engage, ask him questions if you have them, and answer questions if he asks them. Oftentimes engagement will allow the presenter and the speaker and the teacher and whoever it is, wherever you're at, to do a better job at what they're doing when they realize people are engaged and excited about what they're learning. So make sure that you leave comments in the comment box. Make sure that you're here till the end, and at the very end, I will randomly select one person to win a $100 cash prize. It's just my way of ethically bribing you to stay on, listen, learn, and do what's best for you, right? So with that said, let's test that theory out real fast. How many of you are ready for John to start teaching you how to buy and trade stock options, doing exactly what I'm doing, and also maybe even get some of the stock tips from him? Just say yes in the chat box. All right, I see lots and lots and lots of people saying yes. Exciting. See, it's amazing, John. I'll let you speak in just a minute, but it's amazing what happens when you offer people $100. All of a sudden, the chat box fills up. So with that said, all right, guys, listen. I will be back on at the end. I'm always on at the very end, but I will be quiet, keep my webcam off, and I'll turn the screen over to John. He'll be grabbing the screen here in just a second and showing his screen. So pay close attention. You'll actually find out how you can get the text message tips on the exact same stocks that I'm buying every single week with John and from John. So pay close attention, and he'll show you how you can get access to that. It should be an awesome, awesome opportunity. As you can see, I mean, it works. I've been posting it on my Facebook page now for a week. So I'm really, really excited to bring this to you guys. I worked really hard to get John on here. So with that said, everybody say welcome to John. And John, I'm going to let you take over. All you got to do is grab the screen so you can share yours, and let's teach everybody how to trade options. All right, we should have John's screen coming up here in just a second. John, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. So I just want to make sure I got my mic going, and then I will grab the screen. Just make sure you guys can hear me okay.
Yep, everybody seems like they can hear you just fine.
All right,
and you should see a little notification on your screen now to share your screen. There we go.
Got it? Okay, it should be a good looking, it should be a slide that does not make any sense until I explain it. It shows a salmon and a dog and an arrow.
Yep, it looks very confusing. So
perfect.
Look, I've done a really long introduction here. As you can see, Chloe is going crazy. She's always going crazy in the background. So I'm going to turn it over to you, man, and let you take over.
All right, thanks, Anthony. And first of all, thanks. It's always interesting talking to a group of, maybe people potentially that are not, completely familiar with the markets. And I always find this to be kind of fun, and I like to share the information. So first of all, thank you to your group and everybody that's here for joining us. I mean, I always, I want to, at the end of this, I want to just make sure you guys have value and understand at least where I'm coming from in the markets and stuff like that too. And I saw people that are interested in learning. Carolyn, I saw you say like, hey, I'm skeptical, but I'm ready. And I love that. And you should be. And so what I want to do is I'm just going to dive in here. I'm going to talk a little bit about kind of what I'm looking at, specific trading opportunities that I like to look for. A little bit about me, just so you know, kind of, hey, this isn't something that I started doing yesterday. Okay. So what I'll do with that is I will, oh yeah, you do Forex, okay. And I'll just dive in and I'll give you a little bit about my background and stuff like that too. And then, yeah, we'll answer questions and things like that as we go, and it should be a lot of fun. And I hope at the end of this that, a big goal of it is just kind of, I mean, the markets are a mystery to a lot of people. I mean, I know a lot of people that have had bad experiences with the market, and it doesn't really need to be the case if you understand a few basic things. And so that's what I just kind of like to share. And so we'll kind of dive right in. All right, so what is this here? And I've got something here that just says the key. And first of all, I've been doing this for over 25 years, and I'll talk a little bit about how I got started. So keep in mind that the things that I tell you, probably aren't things that you've read about in books. It's just, these are things that I've learned over time, the hard way, by the way. Okay, it took me like 8 years to figure this out, to where I got consistent enough that I felt confident to quit my corporate job and do this full time. Because before then, I would make money and then I'd lose it, and then I'd make money and then I'd lose it. And, my wife's looking at me like, look, we're going to be having 3 kids. We're going to be having kids here, and you can't quit your job if you can't make a steady income. And she had a good point. So the key, what I've found is that, on any given day, and especially if you're watching the news and watching the headlines, there's going to be all kinds of bad news, in the markets. And if you think about the year 2017, I mean, it's been nothing but bad news. Right? Just, I mean, depends, whatever your politics or anything like that. When you look at the news, there's nothing but bad news. There's something going on in North Korea. There's a riot over here. There's, this person hates this person. And if you get caught up in that, you can have a very pessimistic view of the world, but that, doesn't necessarily mean that's actually what's happening in the markets. The markets are actually reflecting what's really going on in the world in a financial capacity, right? And so what I've learned over time is that I kind of stopped watching the news, because not only does that put me in a better mood, and by the way, the news, and I know some news journalists, I mean, they're told to put on the worst news possible to make people scared, because if people are scared, they're going to watch it and they're going to stay tuned for the commercials, and then they can charge more for the commercials. So I just did myself a favor, stopped watching the news, and I became a lot happier. But more importantly, is I realized that it's not the news that drives the markets. And so at the end of the day, the only thing that matters in trading is that you have an account balance, call it, $10,000, whatever you're starting with. It could be $1,000. And your only goal is over the course of a year is that your equity curve, which is the balance of your account, starts off at the lower left of your screen, which is your starting amount. And at the end of the year, it gradually rises and sometimes has some nice pops to the upper right of your screen. That means you're making money, okay? Everything else is irrelevant. So what's interesting is that this opens up a lot of possibilities in terms of being able to free your mind from the traps that a lot of people inadvertently get into when they start trading. Okay, and the biggest trap is the need to be right. That's ego and that's psychological. Okay, and I love, there's a saying that says, hey, would you rather be right or would you rather make money? And at the end of the day, I decided, like, you know what, I'd rather have the money. And there are strategies where you could actually be dead wrong on your opinion, but still make money, right? So that's kind of what I want to talk about. And I liked, the story that Anthony talked about, with his father and how he watched that and how he got into trading. And how I got into trading was fairly interesting. Is that so my mom remarried when I was in 7th grade, and she married actually her high school sweetheart, and he's a broker. And so when I was a senior in high school, it was the summer between my junior and senior year, I spent the summer working. It was kind of it wasn't the best job in the world. It was at the cookie company at the mall, Hewlin Mall in Fort Worth, Texas. And I was making $4.25 each and every hour. And I worked for 3 months. And over 3 months, I'd saved up $1,000. Okay. And as I was coming home about the last week of summer before school started, I walked in, and my stepfather, Lance, and he and his buddies were sitting around the table. It's a Sunday night. They're looking at, some newspaper. I think it was the Investors Business Daily. And I heard him say something like, wow, we could double our money if that works. And so I turned back around. I just kind of went up to him and said, okay, hey, what are you guys talking about? And the short version is, because I actually had no idea what they were talking about. They said, but I do remember this, like, okay, well, this company named Intel, which I had no idea what that was at the time. They're going to have earnings coming out, and we're looking for the stock to go up 3%, which means our options would double. And I got really interested, and I said, well, I'd like to participate in this. And they said, well, this is tomorrow. You don't have enough time to open up an account. You're too young anyway. And they gave me all these reasons why I couldn't do it. And I just said, well, how about I just give you my $1,000 and you buy them for me, and we'll just do that. And they just kind of laughed and said, fine. So I wrote him a check for $1,000. One of the guys said he'd do it. He took the money. He went and bought options in his account. Okay. And then he just said, look, if this doesn't make money, you're going to lose all your money. And if it makes money, I'll give you back your cash plus the profit. And I was like, all right, let's do this. Obviously, I trusted the guy, right? So, what happened then is about 2 weeks later, he came back and he gave me my $1,000 that I'd worked so hard for over the summer. And then he gave me another $800, which was the profit on the trade. And an explosion of fireworks went off in my head, because all of a sudden I was like, wow, I worked a crap job for 3 months and made $1,000. But here, with a little bit of capital, somebody pushed a button, and a couple of weeks later, my money had increased by 80%. Okay. And from that moment forward, I was hooked. And there was a long journey from there, but that's just kind of what got me started. And I was fascinated by the process. Okay. So anyway, so let's dive in, and I'll show you a couple things. Now, I want to show you kind of what's possible with options. Okay. But also just, we want to get in the realm of what's also likely. Okay, so what's possible with options? So this was a trade we did in 2015. This was my best trade in 2015, where I bought 10 options at $2.70. Okay, so that's pretty cheap, right? And Google's a big stock. And then I was able to sell them at $110. So I turned in this case, $2,700 into $119,000 in 2 weeks. All right. Now, I'm the first one to tell you that only happens maybe once every year or two. Okay. It's not something that I plan for, but it can happen. Okay. And so what I like about this is that, wow, if there are opportunities to buy something for $2.70 and sell it for $110, then, I mean, what I realized is that there's a lot of opportunities to buy something at $2 and sell it at $3. Right. So these opportunities come up all the time. And then every once in a while, if you recognize them, and every once in a while you get something like this, and it obviously can really change your account. And that's what I like about it, because there is definitely skill involved in identifying the opportunities where that you have an edge in your favor, but there's always that unknown, like, wow, this thing could really turn into something kind of fantastic. And I love options because it's just super limited risk. So what I'm assuming here is that I'm just going to assume that you don't know anything about options, and so there's a lot of complicated things in options that honestly you don't need to know. Like, this is a delta and this is a theta, and as you learn more about options, you can understand what this is, and it can help you a little bit. But what I like to do is keep things simple, and you just don't need to know this. Okay, there's a lot of complicated option strategies that, frankly, brokers teach their clients in order to generate a lot of commissions. Iron condors and butterflies, that requires a lot of trading, and it generates a lot of commissions, but not a lot of profit. Something like this, all I'm doing is like, you know what, I think Google's going to go up, so I'm going to buy 10 call options for $2.70. Okay, and one option controls 100 shares of stock. All right, so this was essentially like I owned 1,000 shares of Google, which was a $600 stock, for $2,700. Right now, if I had a smaller account, I could have just bought one instead of 10. Right, so hopefully that makes sense. And all an option is the ability to participate in the underlying movement of a stock without having to put up all that money. All right, now there's a lot of ways to lose money in options. You buy the wrong option at the wrong time, or you buy the right option at the wrong time, and you've got to learn a very simple strategy of how to buy the right option at the right time, and that's really it. So it is pretty simple once you understand, and my gosh, I wish I had understood all this when I started. So so from there, now the other thing to keep in mind, because I know the market's been going up, and there's always that feeling of like, oh, everybody's a genius in a bull market. The thing that I want to emphasize very, very strongly is that down moves are also fine. Okay, so that was a call option, right, on Google. On Priceline, in this case, I did a put option. And what a put option does, so if you buy a call, that's essentially saying that I think the stock's going to go higher. If you buy a put, that's essentially saying I think the stock's going to go lower. So here, it's like, oh my gosh, Priceline's down $44. Well, that's great. I bought these put options for $4.95, 10 of them, okay? I was able to sell them for $31.75, and that's a profit of $26,000, okay? So again, it doesn't matter if it's up or down. The key is, though, you want to find concentrated movement. And the little secret here, concentrated movement. So the dirty little secret in trading options is that 80% of the time you should not be, pick any stock, Tesla, Google, Microsoft, Facebook. 80% of the time you should not be doing a trade on it. The options are designed actually to lose money when the market is kind of directionless. And that's where I find most people make their mistake. All you have to do is just learn, because, when a stock's about to make a big move higher, that's a good time. That's when options work. Or the stock's about to make a big move lower, that's when options work. But if you unknowingly don't understand a market when it's in this environment, trading options does not work. Okay, and that's what I want to kind of talk about today is to show you a few things to say, hey, look, yeah, right now you don't want to touch this stock, but look, you really want to touch this stock. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense. All right, so before we dive into this, so here's the main things that I want everybody to understand. And again, this is all stuff that I've just learned the hard way over the years, is we want to learn how to use leverage in a way that grows an account safely and quickly, okay? Generating outsized returns. And I'll talk more about this, of course, in a second, but the leverage is, it's always like scary, like, oh my gosh, leverage. The nice thing about options, though, is that your risk is fixed, okay? Because if you buy one option, for $1, all right, and let's say you think a stock's going to go up, well, that's going to cost you $100. All right, and let's say the next day, let's say it's Google and there's bad earnings and it drops $100. Well, all you lost was $100. you can only lose, okay, the amount of money that you put into the trade. Unlike futures, unlike Forex, where your account can go negative, if it keeps going against you, this is very nice because it's a fixed amount of risk. Okay, so that's the thing I love about options, and I've traded everything. I trade Bitcoin, right? Bitcoin is scary. Options, not scary. Develop or utilize proven trading setups and systems as part of your daily money-making routine and know when to shut them off. And by the way, and the stuff I want to show you too is I assume, and I might be wrong on this, but I assume a lot of you are maybe working full-time. But the strategies I like to look at I developed while I was working full-time. So, I like to do things where I don't have to stare at the markets all day. So these are nice things where you can just kind of check at the end of the day, place your order, go have dinner with the kids and go to work. Know when to trade normally and conservatively, and then know when to stay out of the markets. And that's super important to know when to stay out of the markets. Okay, so the goals of this class, we're going to discover the best strategies for making short-term gains in this new market environment, okay, while understanding what it takes to find and identify stocks that line up for their next big moves up or down. Now, one thing I want to keep in mind is that we're entering a period of September in October, okay? And we're in a year that ends in 2017. Years that end in 7 tend to be the most volatile. It's like a cyclical thing, but think about it. 2007, that started the volatility that led to the 2008 crash. 1987 obviously was a big crash. 97 was a big crash. I'm excited about that possibility because with options you can really make a lot of money very quickly if you're on the right side of a crash, and it doesn't mean that we're going to have one, but I just want to show you something that's going to tell you like, hey, by the way, that here's a signal that says this might happen, and that way you can be prepared for it. The other part of this too is I'm sure a lot of you have heard about high frequency traders. I don't compete with them. So I do strategies that are completely outside of what they're doing. So I'm not I'm not sitting there looking at a 5-minute chart and trying to get the best fill. All of that is a complete waste of time. And then we're just gonna be looking at option dynamics and things like that too. And what's nice about this is that this is a very simple strategy. And once you understand how it works, you can do it even if you've got a full-time job. Okay, and so that's the part that I like about it too. And I like the idea of additional income. I like the idea of, my motivation was to trade for a living, but I love the idea because I think Wall Street is completely ripping everybody off. And it's great that interest rates are driven down, but now it forces people to work longer. They can't live off the interest in their savings for retirement. You've got to be able to develop a skill set and say, okay, now I can generate 30 or 40% a year or more from my account because I have this skill set. Okay, so anyway, so at the end of the day, so real quick, so why listen to me? Which I think is a great question. So real quick about me, I grew up as I never joined the military, but I'm from a military background. This is my great grandfather Dobry, and he was in World War I. My grandfather Frank, he was in World War II. This is me in all those pictures. And then my father, he was in Vietnam. So I bounced around a lot as a kid. And appreciate, I ended up studying military history and all this kind of stuff. And I really, appreciate just kind of, what they went through. I have written a book on this. Now, the strategy I'm talking about today is not in the book, but, this tells a little bit more about my background and stuff like that too. For a long time, well, not a long time, but for a while I did what, there was a speaker circuit. I'd go around the world talking about my strategies. This was in Shenzhen in China. They flew me out there to learn about the strategy. I've done a lot of stuff on CNBC. This is me at a book signing in China. And I've done a lot of that stuff and it's cool and stuff like that. And I've done some crazy things. So in 2006 and 2007, I was convinced that the world was coming to an end. I told all my subscribers this, and we loaded up on silver. So I bought 25,000 ounces of silver. Okay, that's 1,562 pounds. And every month I would take cash out of the market and put it into silver because I really thought that the world was coming to an end. And then, the crash happened, and it's like, oh, okay, people are still going to Walmart, they're still buying toilet paper, and it's all fine. So once the financial crisis passed, I went and I sold my silver. So I sold it in October of 2009 and ended up making about $500,000 profit in doing this. And I learned a lot too, because it took me 3 days to pack it up and sell it. Like and I kept it in my office. Like, had anybody known, they could have obviously completely robbed me and stuff like that. But I learned a lot about, the process and fear and greed and how it plays. And it was just kind of interesting that way. The other thing through my trading is I've actually been able to do some work with some of my heroes. I do hedge work on oil with Richard Branson and his group. I've been invited out to Necker Island. This is me right here. That's Richard Branson. Here we are helping out with a charity. And that's been amazing. I've been able to take my family and stuff like that too. But these days, for those of you that have kids, at some point you realize kind of what's really important. So this is my firstborn. In July, we took 2 weeks off and went to Africa. And it was amazing. And I really just want to make sure I'm there for my kids while I have this opportunity. And so, trading's great with that, but I kind of have stopped doing all the talking and speaking and stuff like that and just doing stuff online. And we do some mission and charity work. This was a trip down to Haiti. Took my oldest son down there so he could just kind of see what was going on there. And but at the end of every day, I'm a trader. This is my office. This is what I like to look at. I look at the markets and I just look for opportunities. Now, I do it full time, but a lot of the strategies, I have one account that I call a day trading account, and then another account that's for swing trading. And that's the account, and those are the strategies that I'm going to talk about today that are completely fine if you're working. Like, you don't have to sit there and stare at the charts all day. Vic, so my family, my background is, obviously I don't know if it's obviously European, but it's European. So yeah, Czech, English, German is the main kind of a background. So Griepenstro, Dobry, things like that. So that's kind of my background. Okay, so, and then this is a screenshot of my account. So I do trade. This is, you can see, look, here's my account number and stuff like that. I show this in our room. This is an account that I started with $119,000 at the beginning of the year. You can see here it's $772,000. It's my overall P&L year to date. And I gotta, I'm the first one to say, like, look, I've been doing this for a long time, so it's not realistic to kind of expect to be able to go from $119,000, to $772,000, right out of the gate. But what I found is that, if this is possible, then, is it possible to double your money, right? Is it possible to maybe, something like that? And so I like to show people this and say, like, look, this is what I really do and can show you at least what's possible, right? And what I love about this too is that you can structure these trades to absolutely take into account the amount of risk you're willing to take. Okay, so there's no surprises like, oh my gosh, this is a disaster. You can absolutely do that, which I think is critical. And then real quick, this is a statement from March. You can see here, it's like in March, beginning of March, I was at $195,000. At the end of March, $278,000. And then in May, and this is something that's really important here that I want to show you guys. In May, I can sit there, I started off at 415,000 and I ended up at 655. But you're going to notice here that this funds dispersed line. I'm a big believer is that when you make money in the markets, take some of that profit out. Okay, that's a great way to protect yourself. But what I like to do then is I translate that into tangible assets, okay, and experiences. So tangible assets, usually in the form of, say, precious metals or land. Okay, we have a ranch outside of Austin, Texas, and I like to, if I can make money in the markets, I'll pull it out and I'll continue to buy land out there. And experiences a lot of times would be like going to Africa with my family. But that way it also psychologically shows me that I'm actually extracting money from the markets and I'm able to take that money and do something with it. It's not a video game, and you want to make sure you don't have that video game kind of mentality. And so what I do with this is I have a specific plan where I wire a specific amount of profits out each week or each month, depending on what's going on. And so here, this was kind of each week, $18,000 this week, $16,000, $15,000, $16,000. And typically what I do is, as things are going, is I'll try to wire out about 2.5% of my equity out each week. And that's just a way to remind myself, look, this is real money. I'm doing something, and obviously this is a bigger account, but psychologically, I think it's very, very important. It really reinforces the idea of like, look, just be patient. Don't take a lot of risk. This is not a video game, right? Don't get caught up in all the, oh, I got to make more, more, more. No, this is just, it's just a way to create income. And so I found that to be just very powerful over time. Now, what happens once in a while, and this is something that I was known for because I happened to do this during a live trading class in my account. And here's my account, and I was doing a trade on Tesla. And part of what I'm going to talk about to you today is why I was able to recognize this, why and how I was able to recognize this specific opportunity. But it was the first time I'd ever made $1 million in one day. Now, look, I'm saying that that's unusual, right? I was just as surprised as anyone else. And the hardest part of this trade was holding on. Okay, and I'll show you how I was able to hold on to this. But when I was up $100,000, I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. And then it was 200, and then it was 300. And then it's really, really nerve-wracking to hold on to a trade that's going like this. But over time, you learn tools to help you stay in trades that are winners like this. Okay. And going back to that idea of, okay, when you make money in the markets, take some of it out and do something with it. And what I did with this is, we bought a ranch outside of Austin, Texas with that money. And this is kind of, and this reminds me, it's like, wow, the markets they're there to, you can get things from the markets as long as you plan and all that kind of stuff too. So anyway, hopefully, that kind of helps out. That's kind of, my background, where I come from, my philosophy on the markets. I don't trust the markets I don't trust Wall Street. I only trust being able to develop a skill set and then extract cash from the markets. And I think there's a lot of opportunity there as long as you know how the markets work. Because frankly, I think the markets are rigged against most people, and you just got to understand kind of the nuances. And that's what I want to show you today is kind of that, the one thing that kind of helped me get to that level, right? And get to that realization. And it doesn't mean you make money every day. It just means that you're making money more often than not. And when you're losing money, it's not a big deal, right? You can recover from it and you can keep on going. Okay. So good stuff. So the other thing to keep in mind too, and this is a theme that I want to hit on today, is that 80% of the time, all right, the markets are quiet and they aren't really doing anything interesting. And the reason this is so important, okay, is that you can't squeeze blood from a diamond. I'm not sure what I use that metaphor for, but the idea with that is that if there's nothing happening, then there's nothing to do. Okay, now, as you get more comfortable with options, when you get into a chop mode like this, you can do these a little more complicated kind of fancy spreads and strategies to generate income while the markets are doing nothing. Okay, but that's not what we're going to be talking about today, because this requires more work. Okay, it requires more training. It's not a big deal. But if at least you have a tool that tells you loud and clear, stay out, that's 90% of the battle right there. And then if you've got a tool that says, okay, it's okay to get in, by a call to the long side, or it's okay to get into the downside by a put, that's all we're talking about here, and that's what makes it pretty fantastic. Okay. Okay. So from there. So these home run Tesla trades are great, believe me. And we joke in the room, we've got a trading room with, kind of a trading community. And they're like, hey, John, when are you going to do the next Tesla trade? And my honest answer to that is, I don't know. I don't know when that opportunity is going to happen, but I do have the tools to be able to recognize that opportunity and take advantage of it. So while those trades are great, you don't need them. Okay, so don't feel pressure like, oh my God, the only way to do this is to make a big trade. No, that trade happened in 2014. I have not done $1 million, day trade since then. I'm looking, obviously, but it's not my, I don't wake up in the morning going like, oh my God, that's got to happen again. So I just think of them as a bonus when that does happen. Now, here's the edge that we have as retail traders. Okay, as retail traders, we have a unique niche in the markets that the funds, okay, the large funds cannot replicate. And the reason for this is liquidity. So there's a lot of, billion-dollar funds out there. To get in and out of positions takes them weeks. Okay, it can take them months. For us, we're small traders, right? Now, if you're trading a $1,000 account or a $10,000 account, that's a small account. But even if you're trading like a 6-figure account or a 7-figure account, like a low 7-figure account, compared to these hedge funds, that's a tiny account. And with a click of a button, we can get out of our trades. These guys get trapped. And what's great about that for us is not only can we get in and out way, way, way faster than them, which allows us to generate outsized returns, but we can take advantage when they're in trouble. Okay, so when a hedge fund's in trouble and they're trying to sell a stock and they can't get out, we just buy some puts and we just stay in them while that fund is liquidating that position, right? Or there's a this year we've had, Tesla has been a great stock to trade because it's got high short interest, which means that there's a lot of funds betting that it's going to go down. And then if it goes up, because they're short the stock, they got to buy it and get out of it. And the good news is that, and you don't need to know any of that as long as you have a tool that tells you, hey, it's okay to buy, it's okay to, to sell, and or just stay out, right? So the absolute key to all this is to be able to recognize within 1 second and no guesswork when to get in, when to get out, and when to stay out of the market and wait. Okay, and I can't emphasize this enough. For those of you, if you do any trading, one of the things I've learned is that if you're having to stare at a market or a chart, and it's after a few seconds, you're like, well, I think it's going to do this, and I think it's going to do that. There is nothing to do there, okay? When there is something to do, you want to have a clear signal that's absolute, crystal clear, 100%, no doubt the moment you look at it, okay? And if it's not there, you keep going. And that's what we're looking for. We're looking for those clear, crystal clear signals that take out all the guesswork. So, and I love this chart. So this is a chart this year of the Russell 2000, which has been kind of crappy, right? And so if you look at this, and I don't know what you see when you see this, but I look at this and say, what is going on here? It's up, it's down, it's up, it's down, it's up, it's down. And even though there's this romantic notion of traders being able to ride that, and catch the up move and catch the down move and kind of surfing the waves, I don't believe that. I think that's impossible because you really actually don't know what's going to happen next day to day. What you are looking for is conviction. And so one of the tools we use, I call them, it's a 10x bar. And essentially, if you see these bars, it's an algorithm that studies the market, and then it gives the bars a specific color based on what it's reading, okay? And so what we're going to do is we're going to look at this, and you're going to see red bars, and you're going to see green bars, and you're going to see yellow bars. And it's kind of like a stoplight, right? Red, yellow, green. And yellow is actually the most dangerous of all, because yellow means, and if you think of yellow, if you're driving and you see a yellow light, you got to stop, right? And if you think of yellow, it just means stop trading. Yellow is just, this is an unpredictable mess and you have no edge, get out. And what I love about this is I can look at a market and immediately see that I have no business being in this market because this market doesn't have any conviction. There's people buying it, there's people selling it, it's in chop mode and there's no conviction. And the only way we're really going to be able to make decent money with options is we've got to find periods of time where there's conviction. So does that make sense? And obviously we're going to look at some examples here of conviction. But and I'm kind of curious because I know it sounds like some of you in here trade Forex, and you can use these bars, by the way, on Forex, and some of you don't. But does that inherently make sense? Okay, awesome. So yeah, and really what this indicator is just saying is like, look, save your self-esteem, save your pride, and do not do anything in this market, okay? Because whatever you do, you're going to lose money. One day, if you buy calls here, it's going to go down. If you buy puts here, it's going to go up. And this is just how people, it's really frustrating. That's really how people get frustrated with the markets because they just don't understand like the underlying dynamics behind it, right? Okay. So, so here's Vanna White. So this tool that we created, what I like about it is it just tells you when it's okay. All right, it doesn't matter what the news is or something like that. So again, what we were talking about is green means that we have conviction to the upside. Okay, red means that there is conviction to the downside. Okay, and as retail traders, we can make money anywhere there's conviction, whether up or down. Okay, that's all I want. That's all I care about is conviction. The worst is yellow, okay? And yellow means essentially no conviction. And no conviction kills more traders than anything else because it's like a hidden disaster. So so this is Goldman Sachs. I like to trade Goldman Sachs. So here we are, it's yellow, right? So do nothing, do nothing, do nothing. Now it pops to green. Now you're not going to get it the moment it turns green, and that's fine. That's fine. And this time I didn't see it until here, but that's fine. Okay, I can get in, right? And you can stay in, guess what? Until it's no longer green. So here, when it turns back to red, I mean, look at this. This started off at $185, and we didn't get a sell signal till $240. Okay, this was a monstrous trade, which was fantastic. So I mean, now visually, does that make sense? I mean, essentially, it's like yellow, don't do anything. Green means it's okay to buy, and then if it goes back to red or yellow, that means the buy signal is over, so get out, right? Okay, awesome. So there's a couple of things that are important here, because here's what happens to most traders, all right? Most traders, what happens is they'll get into the trade and they're making money, and then they get out right here. It's like, wow, I made $1,000. I'm so excited, okay? And then they watch this and they're like, oh my God, I can't believe this is continuing to go up with me. And finally they capitulate and they buy right here. It's like, whoo, I finally got in. And then they get frustrated, right? So the key is not only to have a end as a signal, okay, hey, this is a signal to get in, but to know when to stick with it. And this was an amazing trade. And then here you just do nothing, okay? And when it turns red, you can consider buying puts. And that's kind of how it works. Okay, so now if you guys remember the $1 million trade, so here's what happens. So here's how that worked on this particular day, and I want to show you something on here too. Notice these dots. Okay, do you see that dot right there? So Tesla is a stock I just like to trade, so I happen to watch it. So I'm looking at this and it's like, okay, here's some yellow. Okay, so there's nothing to do there. And it kind of goes red, but it's not, there's nothing's really happening. So there's really nothing to do there. And here I remember this, I'm like, okay, it's green, I'm gonna buy it, right? And so I buy it and I'm in it, and then it turns yellow again. So this trade actually doesn't work, but I lose like $100. It just didn't do much. And now it's yellow, and I could short it here, but I'm looking for Tesla to go higher. And I've got reasons for that I can show you. But I could have shorted it here and made a little bit of money, but that's not what I was looking for. But what you'll notice here is that it goes back to green again. Okay, and just kind of look at what's the difference here between in this chart is that here we go back to green, but to see all these dots. All these dots mean much higher than average. So what do you think the next word is going to be? Much higher than average volume, okay? And volume is how we track the institutions. That they cannot hide, okay? And when we see something like this, where this market is, so I'm sitting here, okay, and so I buy Tesla, right? And so right here, I'm up like $300,000, and I'm scared. I'm like, oh my God, this is so much money, I don't want to lose it. But I see these dots, and it's like, man, the volume is still pouring in. We're still going, oh, look at this, there's some volume. And this was like a $20 move, and then I sold some and I held some overnight and it gapped up, and it was just like this amazing thing. But what was great about this is it just told me that it was okay, right? And keep in mind, I bought it here too, but it quickly showed me that that was the wrong idea. And so when you're wrong, you actually get out pretty, you don't have to sit there and hold on like, oh my God, I can't believe this thing's going down. You just get out. You got, unemotionally, right? It's like, okay, don't worry about it. That's, as a trader, guess what? You're going to take losses. Your job is to take small losses. So when you take a loss, you actually feel good about yourself. The problem is a lot of times traders take a loss and they feel bad about themselves. And so a little tip in trading is that all the little, the Tony Robbins, positive thinking stuff, which can work so well in other parts of your life, absolutely does not work in trading, and it frankly can be destructive. So if you go into a trade visualizing, that this one's going to be a winner, then what's going to happen is you're trying to impose your will on the markets, and the markets don't even know you exist. It's like swimming in the ocean. Like if you're, surfing in the ocean, the waves don't even know you're there. They're just going to do what they're going to do. And it's the same thing with the markets. So this tool is an objective way for you to stay unemotional about the trade and not allow any emotional baggage to come up when that kind of stuff happens. Okay. Yeah, and we'll review the details of the chart and stuff like that too. So I just wanted to show you that because that's a question I get asked a lot. And here's a more recent example of Tesla. Okay, and this is an example of just patience. So here's June of last year, July of last year, August of last year, and I love trading Tesla, but you can see that all this time it's yellow. And yellow, even though there's some moves down here, there's no advantage. And so you want to stay out. And so I'm just, I'm getting frustrated. It's like, oh my gosh, I really want to trade Tesla. And then finally we get green, okay, with some volume. And if you look at this, there's no volume. Like there's no dots. And so if there's no dots, there's no conviction. So now we get green with volume, and it's like, man, this finally we get a trade, and it turned into this fantastic trade. And so the lesson here is just, it's to have patience. It's to know when to stay out of the market, right? And it's knowing when to recognize when an opportunity, again, up or down. Okay, I'm kind of agnostic when it comes to trading, and so it just makes it a lot easier, at least I think. Let's see. So the idea with this is that at the end of the day, the markets never move in one straight line. Okay, so stocks and markets either move under impulse thrust or corrective action on all time frames. You don't even know what that, you don't even have to know what that means. But really what we're looking for is the big moves are being driven by large institutions entering and exiting positions. Okay, if the large institutions really aren't doing anything, then there's going to be yellow bars, and that's just telling you, look, just stay out of this because you don't have an advantage there. And if you don't have an advantage, it's kind of like you're walking down a dark alley. Keep your hand on your wallet, because the market makers and the high frequency traders, they're kind of like pickpockets, right? They're looking to pick you off. They're the ones waiting to mug you as you come around the corner. But if you can recognize when to which alleys to stay out of, they can't mug you. Okay, so a key point here is that tools like this help you stay out of the sandboxes that are rigged. And if those yellow bars are just telling you stay out because that's a market that's being controlled by the computers and it's just going back and forth, and I'm not interested in that. And so anyway, if that makes sense, and we have to dive into that. So what I found is a lot of times with trading, and I've actually done counseling with couples, is that for people that are unaware of that and they're going into trading, and they'll get frustrated, and that can impact the relationship if they don't really understand that, or so, and a lot of time, or it's the female trader and the husband, or vice versa, and it can really impact a relationship, not in a good way. But it's if you understand, like, hey, there's going to be some losses, but as long as they're small and they're controlled, then this is something that this is something that anybody can do. So as retail traders, at the end of the day, we do not have access to, we don't have access, and I don't have access to all the tools that the funds are using, right? They've got all these expensive tools and research teams, and we don't know we don't have that, but we can follow in their footsteps, okay? And so this tool, I call it the 10x bar tool, is that you can stay in, you can ride these decisions that they're making. And that Goldman Sachs trade, and I'll show you an example of this. And this was something that was pretty phenomenal, because here we bought 10 options at 10 cents. Okay, so that's 10 options. That equals 1,000 shares of stock, and that cost me $100. And after about a week, that $100 turned into $5,000. Okay, which is a 5,000% return. And again, this obviously is not going to happen all the time, but with this tool, it's possible. It's possible to identify those moves. Okay, and that's the fun thing about it. And that's just more trades there. So what happens with this is that when you've got the right strategy, your equity curve can look like this. Okay, and so what happens is you've got your starting account balance, whatever it is, and you're doing some trades here and there, and there's nothing going on. Maybe the bars are yellow, but then you catch a move. And now your account is elevated to the next level. And then there's going to be some back and forth and, okay, what's going on here? And oh, there's another one, boom. Now keep in mind, when you catch a big move, it could be that the market's falling, okay? It's just that your equity is going higher. And so that's the goal with that, is just kind of waiting for those moments. So without a tool like this, what happens is that, I don't know if any of you guys have experienced this before, but I certainly have, is that, if I have two trades that don't work, it's kind of like, and there's an analogy here. It's like, if you're like, say you're 5 years old, and the first encounter you have with a dog is a scary dog that bites you. What happens is, for the rest of your life, anytime you see a dog, your nervous system is going to react, and you're going to instinctively be scared of that dog, okay? Or if your first experience with the dog at 5 years old was friendly, then for the rest of your life, your initial instinct when you see a dog is going to be warm feelings, like, oh yeah, that was a cool experience. Well, it's the same with trading, except on a much shorter learning curve. So in trading, if your last two trades kicked you in the teeth, you're going to approach your next trade scared, which is the completely wrong mindset to be successful as a trader. You want to be neutral, okay? Worse is that if your last two trades did awesome, okay, what's going to happen is you're going to get overconfident, and now you're going to start upping your size, like, oh my gosh, this is amazing, and then and that's bad too. And so the key is to understand, that's how traders get in trouble. And so you just want to have tools that keep your mindset neutral. Okay. All right. So how do I know, this stuff? First and foremost, trading options consistently is nearly impossible if you do not understand the underlying shifts in the market. As a trader, okay, all you need to know is this market normal or about to make a huge shift? Okay, normal is yellow. We don't like normal. Okay, you can't make money in normal. The good news is that once you understand this process, options trading opens up a world of possibilities and profitability. Whether you want to be a full-time trader or you're just looking for extra income. I mean, a lot of time I'll talk to people that are like, wow, an extra $1,000 a month would be amazing. They like their job, they've got all these different things going on, but an extra $1,000 a month, or whatever, would be awesome. And so, this is kind of designed for that. And really here, and options are scary for people because if you pick up any options book, I mean, good luck. They're so complicated, and they get into what's called the Greeks and the math and all this probability stuff. And if you know that stuff, it's great. But what I'm telling you is you don't need to know it. If you're playing the direction of the market and using options this way, it's a lot simpler. And that's that's at the end of the day. And if you get passionate about trading, you want to do this full time, and you want to learn that stuff, that's great. But you don't need to. So the option strategy that I like to use has the least amount of risk. Okay, there's nothing that can blow up in your face. It's just based on correct position sizing. And the key is to be on the same page as these little seismic shifts in the market. Okay. And the thing about this is that you can do this, from your phone. And I think Anthony was even doing all his trades from his phone. So this is my iPhone. And I will, you can manage. So if you're at work, right, and you have a signal, you can just hop on your phone and check and see what's going on. I've taught my daughter how to trade. This is what they do kind of for supplemental income, to be able to buy more apps on their iPad. So she knows that she looks for the signal, and she'll do it on a shorter term time frame and try to make like $100. And so it's, it's one of those things that's not that, it's not that difficult as long as you know. And here's a snapshot of the market as of today. And so this is the Qs. So this represents the NASDAQ. Okay, and that's the NASDAQ is, if I can spell right, the NASDAQ has, Facebook, Apple, and all that. And you can see right now it's yellow. Okay, now we had a period of time here back in May where we had this awesome move. It was fantastic to the upside. And then we had some down moves. And then we had some chop. But yellow means what? Stop. So on the NASDAQ right now, I don't have any positions. I'm waiting. At some point, as we get into September and October, we're either going to continue moving higher or we're going to implode, as typically happens with years ending in 7 in September and October, right? Well, guess what? If we get red bars with dots with volume, I'll buy some puts on the Qs and I'll just stay in that thing until it tells me to get out. Okay, so I'm looking at this going like, I don't have a preconceived notion of what this market should do. Okay, is it going to continue going higher, or is it going to roll over and die? I don't know. And what I know is that I don't have to know what's going to happen next in order to make money. I just have to wait for, you know, this tool to tell me what to do next. Oh, thank you. Yeah, I will correct that. Going through, I grabbed this slide literally as Anthony was doing the intro, so I was probably typing that pretty quick because I wanted to get something that was current. So at the end of the day, I'm a trader. I love trading. For whatever reason, I don't mind sharing what I'm doing. At some point, I'll stop sharing because my life would be a lot easier if I was just trading. But and I'm the first to say, like, I am not a professional teacher. I don't like selling stuff, but I like sharing things. Okay, and I'm very passionate about what we do. I love trading, and I love connecting with anyone who gets the trading bug, because it's a very interesting thing. It's a very interesting journey, which I appreciate. And at the end of the day, you know, this isn't hard. You know, we get emails all the time, and someone will say, "Hey, I saw your class. You know, I really didn't know what to do, but you know, the trade worked, and I made some money on it." You know, and I love stuff like that because I really like the idea that people can go in and extract money. Because if you're extracting money from the markets, that means it's not going to some hedge fund or some Wall Street firm. I would rather pick their pockets, right, instead of the reverse. So that's kind of, you know, what I like to do there. So we've got a great team here. This is, you know, we like to trade. We like to help people trade. And so what we're going to be doing is on Saturday, August 26th, I'm going to do a class that shows you all this. I'm going to go through, show you the exact setups, the checklist that I use. I'll get you a copy of the software that we use and stuff like that too. And this will be on a Saturday when the markets are closed. Okay, there's a live trading component to it as well, which I'll show you, and I'll show you the page here you can go to if you're interested in it. Right? It's up to you if you're interested in it or not. But what we're going to be talking about during this class is essentially how to spot stocks that are ready to explode or implode. Okay, and talking about the whole theory behind this 10x trade formula that's behind the software, the 3 essential criteria that every winning options trader must have, right? Or it's just not going to work. Like, you got to know which options to get, right? The truth about trading options that the market makers do not want you to know, okay? You know, 85% of options expire worthless. That's something you should know, right? Why some option traders seem to always make money and catch the biggest moves, and how you can quietly piggyback that. How to know whether a stock will explode higher or lower 75% of the time. There's a great additional signal that I want to show you during the class. And when you must absolutely not even be involved in this stuff. Okay. So if you go to this link and you have to type this in, and I'll show it to you. If you go to simplertrading.com, you just type that into your browser and then go /Anthony. Okay. And that's going to take you to this page, and you'll be able to see the different ideas here. So what we're going to do is a Saturday class. Now, normally these classes are a lot higher. We want to do this as kind of an introductory rate, so you can kind of come in. And here's the way I look at this. This is a reasonable investment where your goal is obviously to get a return, okay? If you invest $497 in learning the skills and how to trade, then it should be reasonable to expect that you could at least make $497 in the markets from these strategies, right? So that's kind of my litmus test. And with this Saturday class, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through and show you the strategy step by step. You're going to get a copy of this class so you can review it. And by the way, and this is going to be next Saturday, the 26th, I think it is. So if you can't view it live, you can view the recording. You're going to get a copy of that indicator, okay? And in a moment, I'm going to show you the platform. The good news is there's a free platform you can use, so you can download that on there. And then you're going to, for those of you that are newer, we're also going to include what's called the Options Foundation course. And I just ask that you review this before it. And this is essentially going to go through the basics. You know, what's a call? What's a put? So that you have the basics under your belt, so that when you come to the Saturday class, you're ready for the strategy. Okay, that's Options Foundations and back to basics. Now, you'll see here that there's a professional package and an elite package. And I'll just be straight up with you guys. I wouldn't worry about that. The professional package, that includes 3 days of live trading. Okay, so you can kind of see how it works real time, and also a follow-up day. And then the elite package includes all that plus a 12-month membership to our scanner. I wouldn't really worry about that right now. I would just say, like, hey, if this is something that sounds interesting to you, go to simplertrading.com/Anthony, get the $497 package, and then you can really see what's what. And from there, you can decide, right, if you want to upgrade from there. So that's what I got, Anthony. That's all I have. And
Yeah.
you know, I don't, if you want to hop on or kick me off or ask any questions, I'm happy to answer questions.
We won't kick you off. First of all, everybody, I want you to type the number 1 through 10 in the chat box for me. How important is this to you? How likely are you to do this? Okay, 10 being this is super important. You're really, really excited. You're going to go to the link. That's simplertrading.com/Anthony. And then 1 being, okay, Anthony, let's stick to internet marketing. We don't really want to learn this. I see tons and tons and tons of 8s and 9s and 10s. Very, very good. Listen, this is something that I am doing myself right now, even while on vacation. In fact, I do it so much now with obviously with John's help, that every single morning, I mean, look, you can see there's screenshots. Here's another one of another $1,000 on my phone. Here's another one. This was $370 and $250 profit. That's in a single day, by the way. And you can see, guys, that these trades that I'm making, they're early in the morning. And so what's happening is I'm getting some alerts, right? I'm getting told, hey, this could potentially be something that a move that you want to do today. And it's been a phenomenal opportunity. How many of you would like to get in on that and do this with me? Just say yes in the chat box if you'd like to get in and do this with me. All right, I see lots and lots and lots. That's right, I'm doing it with John's help. So will you when you join John's class. And when you go through this class, you'll have the opportunity to start getting these alerts just like I'm getting. So that literally when you wake up in the morning, you'll be able to have these alerts that are telling you, here are the stocks that John's buying for the day. Here are the stocks that John's students are buying for the day. So it's literally just 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And the alerts will come through on your email or via text message, right? So you can get the alerts either way. I always get mine on my phone. And then, of course, the first thing I do is hop on the app on my phone, and then I buy the stocks that I'm being told other people are buying. Now, you're also, I saw some of you saying, hey, what if I can't make the class? Here's the thing. As you can see, you're going to get the online recording of the class. So if there's any, if you're any kind of scheduling conflict, that should not hold you back. You can still get the recordings of the class. Obviously, if you can be there live, it makes tons of sense. But if you're not, at least you'll be able to get the recordings, go back through that, get all the material, and of course, you'll be able to still learn everything that we're doing. It looks like Dave says, I'm in. If you're in, type the number 1 in if you're in. If you're getting in on this and you're going to join the class, because I'm going to give you guys a special bonus, but I'm not going to tell you what that bonus is for the next, looks like 3 minutes or so, because I have to wrap this thing up a little bit early today. As you'll probably see in a second, my nephew is about to walk through the screen. He didn't realize there's a mirror there. So I've got some family here. I can't sit on here all day long, but I've got a specific bonus that I'm going to hook you guys up with. So it looks like Chris is getting in, Marino is getting in, Nicole, Paul, Bruce, let's see, Marcia, Christian, let's see, somebody, I'm sorry, I can't pronounce your name. Valerie is in, Esther is in, let's see, Allison is in, Reese is in, David is in, Dave is in. Let's see. I'm just going through these. Emil says, how long will these prices be open? Well, obviously the class is on August 26th, but as you guys know, this is a special link specifically for me. So this is just my one-time promotion. I don't berate you guys with these things. I just look, I simply say, here's an opportunity. This is something I'm doing. It's working really well for me. You've seen the results that John has. They're incredible. But what about somebody brand new? What about somebody that didn't even know what an option was? If you ask John, and I'm sure some of you might take me up on this, but literally I'm having to ask John, what is an option? Like, what does that mean? And then yes. What is a call? What is a put? How does one use that? And so even when I was doing the introduction for you, I was still trying to think in my mind, like, okay, what did John say a call was or an option was? I'm controlling stock, but I don't understand how. And so I am brand new to this, like absolutely brand new. I have no experience. So if you're looking for kind of that scenario where you want to do something that you can be successful with, but you want to make sure that if you have absolutely no experience, it can work for you. I know that sometimes that's hard when I'm up here talking about internet marketing stuff because, hey, at the end of the day, I'm doing that. I've been doing that for 10, 12 years. So obviously, even if it's something new in internet marketing, the learning curve for me is much easier than it is for you because I have so much of a foundational knowledge. When it comes to stock investing, I don't. The only thing that, and especially options, I've never bought an option, never sold an option, never done anything with options until I believe it was August 7th when John started teaching me what this was, how to do it. You can do it on apps on your phone. I'll show you both of my cell phones. They have this, you'll see right here, it says Thinkorswim. So this little Thinkorswim app, this is from Ameritrade. Now you can do it with many, many different trading services, but I use, and I think John uses Thinkorswim from Ameritrade. And it's just super, super, super easy, easy to use. Looks like you've got a free broker that they can use.
Yeah, and Thinkorswim, I think it's totally free. They've got great tools, and then this indicator that we create, we can actually just import into the platform. But they do a really good job.
Very good, very good. And I saw somebody, looks like Neil said, I just got started with another program a couple days ago. I want to focus on only one thing. I want to be very clear with something, and it's kind of like what John showed you guys earlier. There's portions of your income that you should invest. There's portions of your income that you should take and spend on things that make you happy. Like he said, experiences. There's portions that you should invest in real estate, which more specifically, I guess, like John said, land. I just bought 4 acres of land, and then last year bought 54 acres of land, or 52 acres in Mississippi. So investing in things that they're not going to make any more of is obviously a smart bet. But then there's portions of the money that you make that you should reinvest into opportunities to grow, right? And letting your money work for you. What I think was really interesting about what John taught today, how many of you caught the fact that he said, you don't have to be glued to your computer watching the markets all day long? Did anybody catch that? That was the biggest thing for me. I'll be totally honest with you. That was the biggest thing for me because when John started teaching me this, and by the way, I don't know anything. I'm going to this class is where I'll be on the 26th. That's how I know about the class. But for me, it was all about, I was sitting here at the computer and I'd wake up first thing in the morning. I'd say, John, all right, what do we do? And he'd say, well, let's check back. We'll hit you back this afternoon. I'm like, well, but don't we need to be watching stuff and doing stuff? Like there's things to be done. Are we supposed to have 12 computers and be staring at them all day? And the answer is no. The answer is that I literally made, I think, 4 trades. And that's like one purchase, one sell, one purchase, one sell in a whole week. But then I made thousands of dollars doing it, right? So this is what I think is so great about this is you're not having to spend all day and all night staring at graphs and computers and all that stuff. That's not how it works. Chris said I used to day trade and I was in front of my computer for 3 to 5 hours. Yeah, see, I don't have 3 to 5 hours to sit here and stare at graphs. So what's great about this is you don't have to do that. John, somebody said, what's the least amount that I can start with in the trading account to maybe to get started?
With these brokers, you can do, it's one of those things where, if you have $50, it's going to be very difficult. If you can, $1,000 is manageable. And a lot of these brokers, they'll have minimums, but usually you can do $1,000. You can start doing one contract at a time. The nice thing is that, there's options out there that cost $1 or $2. And remember, when I say $1, you've got to multiply that by 100 because it represents 100 shares of stock. So an option that's $1, is $100. Right. And but yeah, you can start with a smaller amount and to kind of get your feet wet. And
just remember, just because you put your money, one of my friends, a lot of you probably know Josh, or some of you have seen Josh. He works for us. He's putting on our live event, our Build Sim Profit live event. He's the event coordinator and COO of our company. He's really tight with his money, and he doesn't really want to invest his money, but he's seen that I've been making this money, and so he said, I want to do this, but I don't want to invest a lot of money doing it. So what he did was he put his money into his trading account with, I think it was with Ameritrade. And then he just bought 1 or 2 options. So all he was doing was spending $100 of what he put into the account. So he just looks at it almost like another bank account, if you will. So it wasn't like he's just because you put $1,000 into your trading account that you got to go blow $1,000. That's not how it works. So just remember that it's just a matter of having the money over there so that you can trade with it and you can allow your money to grow. How many of you would be willing to do something like that? Like, how many of you would like to have a portion of your money that you've saved set aside to grow on its own, to let your money work for you, and of course let your money grow? Just say yes. So I see lots and lots and lots of people saying yes. And mind you, like, I have a very, very, very small amount of money in my account. I would say that it's actually, like, if I were to, seriously, I'll do the math. I'll tell you what percentage I have of my cash. Let's see. I have about 1%. So that's what I have, about 1%. So about 1% of my actual cash savings I put into my account, and I said, hey, look, this is 1%. Let's see if I can make it grow. And I've actually grown about $15,000 now, and that was literally just guessing my way through until, of course, I met John. Before I met John, what was happening is I would make a good trade. And it wasn't options; it was just stock. I'd buy stock and I'd make like $2,000. Then I'd buy it again and I'd lose $2,000. And I was up and down, up and down, up and down. And I never really had that trajectory where I just made money every time, where I was just doing this. It was always just up and down, up and down, up and down. So what's great about this is having a calculated investment where you've got the experience of John, his entire team, and everything that they've taught you kind of at play when you make a purchase of an option. And so it's not a guessing game. You're not sitting there trying to guess your way through anything. So it makes total sense. If there's anybody that has any questions, put them in the chat box. And again, I know that we've had so many other people that are jumping in, so I want to recognize everybody. So if you could just type the number 1 in, if you have actually purchased the class. And I think it was really cool of John to say, hey, look, don't start off with the professional and the elite levels. Sometimes people buy what they don't need, right? And just because it costs more doesn't mean that you necessarily need it. The $497 course is basic, but that's what we all need because we're all beginners. We're not anywhere near where we need to be in order to have elite trading and all that kind of stuff. We need to go through the basic course first. And then if we fully understand that and we say, this is going to work for us, we can always upgrade at a later date. So I see Jim. Let's see. Do you have a free program? No, nothing in life is free. If it's free, then it's not worth doing. Marcia is in. I see lots and lots and lots of people, let's see, are in, still waiting, have to get some money traded. Okay, that's not a problem. Yeah, this is not binary and all that kind of nonsense. So let's be very clear. This is stuff that's literally traded on the New York Stock Exchange. You can do it through apps on your telephone. So this is not some of that kind of stuff that you guys have seen where they tell you, binary trading. All that stuff is fake. It's just not even, something I would ever endorse or talk about, to be honest with you. This is legitimate stock options. This is in big companies. And I truly believe that, your money is safe, you're safe, and the investment of time is well worth the return that you're going to get once you truly understand this. So I see lots and lots of people that are jumping in here. Now, I have a specific bonus that I'm going to announce here. I know I said 3 minutes. That was 10 minutes ago exactly. Then we had so many people, John, that keep talking and asking questions, which is good because that means they have that means they have a lot of good questions. So that's always a good thing. Just kind of going through here. Chris Chandler, can you lose all your money? I would imagine you could lose all your money if you had no knowledge. But knowledge is power. And with power, you just aren't supposed to lose 100%. So intelligent investing, you're not going to lose 100% unless you are absolutely, completely stupid. And I don't think that you are. Let's see. Is the scanner tool included with the basic membership? No, it's not. Look on the screen. The little green dot's not lit up, so no, it's not. Will this be available again? I can't do it now. It's not going to be available again. It's a live class. It's got recordings, but you can only get the recordings, of course, if you purchase the live class, which is happening on the 26th. With this knowledge, what's the average turnaround? I'm not really sure what you're asking for, but if you're asking for how fast are you going to make your money back, the answer is nobody can answer that question but you. How much is a scanner tool? It's not available unless you get the elite program. It's $1,747. I'm trying to answer as many questions as I can, but let's refrain from asking questions about how fast am I going to make $1, because the fact of the matter is, John told me exactly how to make $1,000 in 10 minutes. But if I had bought 100 options instead of one, then I would have made 100 times that much money. Or I could have also not bought any options when I got the alert that said this is what John's doing today, and so then I would have made no money. So again, it's 100% up to you and up to what you actually do with it, right? As with anything in life, right? So it's 100% up to you. Let's see, what time is the class, John, on the 26th?
So the class is going to be start at noon Central, and usually it's from noon to 5, and we'll have plenty of time for questions. And a couple of things I saw on there too. I mean, one of the things where people will ask is like, well, can we lose all our money and different things like that too. And part of what I focus on Saturday is really just is position size. It's like, okay, here's a setup. So how much of your account do you put in? Are you gonna put your entire account into one trading idea? No. But so then how much do you do? And then another thing is if you've never done options, when you go to fill out your broker platform, and if you tell them, oh, I've never traded options before, then guess what? You're not going to get approved. So the good thing is that all you got to do is, since you're taking this class, it's about a year's worth of experience packed into 4 hours. So you can just mark, I've got a year's worth of experience, or you will have, that time. And then all they're doing is just checking the box and make sure that or you're about to know what you're doing there. And then the other thing about this too, and I think it's important, is that even if you're not, if you're either like, wow, this looks interesting and I don't have the money, or I don't have the money to trade, just remember that this is a skill set and you can use it at any point in your life when you do get funds. And so that's one thing too, is it's just to learn. If you're learn the skill set, maybe you tuck it away for later. And it's also fascinating just to see how the world works, how the financial markets work, and different things like that.
Hey, John, I'm gonna shoot you a question here. I want to ask you, check Skype for me real fast about this bonus that I'm going to offer everybody, because I'm only going to offer it for about 5 minutes and then I got to hop off. So let me type this out to you. Let's see. All right, I'm going to verify with John that he's okay with a specific thing that I have in mind. All right, so perfect. Let me ask you guys this. How many of you right now would like to get into a private Facebook group with me, and anytime I'm making purchases of options, just like the ones that I showed you on my phone, I will post it into the Facebook group so that you'll literally get my trades as I'm making them throughout the week? Just say yes. All right, lots and lots of yeses. Keep the yeses coming in. Yes, 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 yes. Okay, here's what I'm going to do. I am going to give you that as a bonus if you get in the next 3 minutes, because I have to get off of here. I can't stay on all day. So in the next 3 minutes, if you get in, it doesn't matter which package you get, basic, professional, or elite, what's going to happen is I'm going to have John send me a list of everyone that gets in. And for those of you that get in, I am going to give you access to a private, it's going to be a secret Facebook group, so you can't even see that it's there unless you have the link. And whenever I make a trade, I'm going to let you know about it. That way you are able to, you're able to literally do what I do. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, that's not me saying you need to make this trade. That's me saying this is what I'm doing. And of course, I'm doing what, pretty much what John is doing. So I'm going to give you access to those alerts right here. What package am I in? I'm in the basic package, so I'm going to the basic class, right? I am learning, but I have access to, obviously, to get the alerts that I need in order to make the trades that are making me a lot of money right now. So obviously, I will give you access to that. How many of you are going to jump in now in order to get my bonus? Type the number 1 in. All right. So if you're typing the number 1 in, understand something. You have to complete your purchase right now and be done in the next couple of minutes, because we have to close this thing down. So Ernest, Brooke, Chris, there's tons more that now GoToWebinars freezing up. Chris Wong, how are you? Alexa, yell to Chris.
Hi, Chris.
My wife says hello. She's sitting over here. She's so excited to see you, Chris. I'm sure you'll be in Dallas this year. Let's see. Going through, she says hello, Alexa. So lots and lots of you are jumping in. So go to the URL. It's simplertrading.com/Anthony. All right, so simplertrading.com/Anthony. Jump in. I see Reese is jumping in. We will let you guys know about the bonus, of course, once John sends me a list of everybody who enrolls in the class. All right, I'll get that list later on today, and I will add you guys to a special Facebook group, and you'll literally just get to trade along with me, which I think could be a lot of fun, because now you'll see what I'm doing. And obviously you can see that what I've been doing has worked really, really well. And so hopefully that will work just as well for you, and you guys will be really, really excited. So just pulling this up here. How many of you need some more time to complete your purchase here? Just type the number 1 in if you're on the order form. Not that if you think you might want to do it later, you've got to go find somebody to give you money and all that. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about if you're on the order form right now with the intention of enrolling right this minute. So I see Ernest, Brooke, David, Chris, someone else, I can't pronounce your name, Valerie, Reese. Okay, you guys need to take action, do it right now. Mario, you'll all get in on my bonus. I'll add you all to the special Facebook group. There will be a small portion of us there. I might even bug John and see if I can get him in there.
What?
Listen to John, he's like, I don't think so, but that's okay, because I can kind of, I can help you guys.
I mean, I could come in there one day. It's but yeah, it's usually during the day. It's pretty busy. Looking at pretty busy in the markets.
I hear you. Yeah, John has to stay busy so he can let me know what's going on in the market for the day, and then of course I relay the information. So this is a great opportunity for you guys to get in and start learning how to do this, and really try to understand how you can make money in the market. And what's great about this is when you have somebody like John that's literally telling you what they're doing, it's very easy to duplicate, right? It's when you're trying to build things from scratch, reinvent the wheel, start over, do things you've never done before. That stuff's difficult. But when you're literally following what somebody else is already doing and you see the proven results, you can see that I've been doing it for a week or so, and all of a sudden I've got these massive results, things that I never had before, things that I never, ever have done in my life. And in the last couple of weeks have turned it into, thousands and thousands of dollars. You can too, but the first step is taking action and going to this URL that you see on the screen, simplertrading.com/Anthony. It's in the chat box. I'll drop it in there once more. Let's see here. We'll drop it in once more. Looks like Chris Waterman says, I'm registered. So Chris, welcome aboard. Congratulations. And we look forward to having you in the class. And of course, we'll hook you up with the bonus as well. So that's obviously my goal, is to hook all of you up with this bonus and these alerts from me. Brian says, I'm in. All right, if you've just gotten in, just say you're in. Malik, yes, this is live. It's live every single week. So absolutely, we are live. I'm just going through here and checking this out. Let's see. Some people say love. Well, listen, John, I want to thank you for spending some time with us today. I know it's a little bit outside of your realm to teach the super basic stuff, but I was excited when I saw the results I saw within some cases like an hour, and I just felt like, hey, look, this is the Partner Profit Strategy session. It's all about teaching people. Mario says I'm in. It's all about teaching people things that they don't know and how to have multiple streams of income. And so for me, I thought this was a great opportunity to truly teach people how to have success doing this. And it seems like a lot of people are really excited about it, joining the class, and they're going to be there on the 26th. So I'm really excited. Dr. Carl says he's in. So that's very good. We got Dr. Carl in. John, one quick question I saw that somebody had in the chat box. Just want you to verify.
Okay.
If you've ever done this before, this class, even though it's called basic, we already know that sometimes basic classes mean basic to you, but not basic to the people that are really getting started. If they've never even downloaded an app to trade options, the basic class is going to walk them through everything that they need to do to actually get started.
Yeah, so that's a really good question, and the answer to that is yes. But part of that is going to be predicated on there's an assumption that there's going to be some people in here that it's like, okay, I have no idea. I've never even heard of an option. I don't know what it is. And so we're going to send you some materials, and it's some homework. And I know, the word homework may not be the most appealing word in the world, But it would take, and they're just recordings, and you can watch them. They're a couple hours, if that. But what's going to happen is that will get the basics, so that when you come to the class, even though it's a basic class, you'll have a foundation. Because we're going to have 5 hours together, and what I don't want to do is I don't want to cover things that you could get for free on the internet. Like if you type in Google, what is a call option? You can spend all kinds of time find out what a call option is. You don't need to pay money, right, to listen to me for an hour to tell you what a call option is. So when you come to the class, I want you to at least have gone through our homework so that you understand, like, okay, that's a call option, that's a put option. So then when we're in the class, we can focus on the strategy, if that makes sense. So that's, again, we're going to keep it very simple, very straightforward. And if there are some areas, that are like, okay, this is a little more advanced, and I'll tell people, like, look, don't worry about this part. But for those of you that are more advanced, here's some other things you can do with it. But the goal with it is at the end of the class, you are armed and ready and able to do this.
Very, very good. And just so you guys know, I saw some people are saying that they I think they went to the wrong URL. I think they went to Simpler Trading and just bought stuff. Some people are saying they spent something else, they bought something else. Yeah. So guys, and a purchase of this, it's simplertrading.com/Anthony. It's right there at the top of the screen. So you don't need to use this free broker tool. Actually, you can just close that, John. The URL that you want to go to purchase is right there. So simplertrading.com/Anthony. So it's not $47. It's $497. So just making sure that you guys know. Some of them are saying that that they're going to a $47 page, John.
I'm going to type in your link right now. I looked at it earlier. It looked fine, but we'll see here. So I will. If I'm still sharing the screen here, I'll just bring it up here. All right. So if we look at the sales page here, or the order page, and that's what I see there is $497. So if I click on register now, it does say $47. So that'll be that should be $497. Yes, absolutely. And then
that's
I think
probably a mistake.
Yeah, it looks like March and all this kind of stuff. But yeah, so just so you know, the information here is it is $497, and it is on August 26th, and so all that will be updated for sure.
All right. So what do we do for the people that have bought? Because lots of people have said they've purchased, but they purchased the wrong thing.
Well, so if what'll happen here is that I'm just looking at Skype here. So what'll happen is that on the back end it'll be corrected, and so you'll have access to the class. It will be. I don't know, just from standing right here, I don't know if that's what's being charged or what's going on, but. So it should be $497. The class will be, like I told you at the beginning, right? I'm a professional trader, but we're not a professional internet company. But the idea is that it'll all be updated and corrected to reflect what's on the page.
All right. Yeah. So lots of people saying that they've purchased, but it was $47. So what you guys purchased wasn't even a class. If you saw, it was not even an actual class, something else that John has. So what we'll do is we'll get the link updated and actually working, and then we will send you guys an email tomorrow, and you'll be able to go in and purchase it. For all of you that already purchased, obviously you wanted to go to the $497 class. So I'm sure that John's team will reach out to you and let you guys know that it is fixed. I'm just taking a quick look here.
Yeah, and then I'm getting some updates here from our support team, and first of all, obviously apologize. It was kind of like putting that together at the last minute, but that will get corrected, and all the information that we discussed at the class will be for what we talked about today, obviously.
Very good. So just going through here. So I guess, John, what I'll do is you can get a list. I'm not sure if it's showing
the people that have purchased at $47? Like, are you able to see that so that you can see who they are?